Welcome back, Odooers. My name is Jose Ignacio. Today, we're going to learn how to manage employees' expenses. We're going to review the expenses on our expenses to process dashboard. If everything looks good, we're going to approve and reimburse the employee, either with a check in their next paycheck or with a direct deposit. Or if the expense doesn't seem right, we can even refuse them. So follow me as I dive into our database to handle all these expenses. So here I am on the main expenses app dashboard where all my individual expenses are listed. Because I'm a manager and I have the proper access rights, when I click my expenses over here at the top, I have this expenses to process option, which we're also going to click. So the expenses to process dashboard has, well, you guessed it, all the expenses that I need to review and process. I can only view expenses for employees I have approval rights for, which means I don't see the entire company's expenses, only my team's. So the default filter selected on the left side menu over here is submitted, which hides all other expenses, letting me focus on what I have to approve. Okay, it's time for us to check these out. We're going to start over here at the top, and I'm going to click on Bob Smith's client dinner. All right. So it looks like they went to Hudson Prime, which is a nice choice. So the notes at the bottom tells me that it was the new 500 Main Street clients. And the receipt is attached. Perfect. No questions here. So to approve this expense, I'm going to click approve at the top. Now that it's approved, some things have changed. I have a post journal entries button up here and a report and next payslip button. So I'm going to click on the report and next payslip, and because I know Bob prefers to be paid this way or repaid this way rather than a separate payment. And the options are always very nice. So let's assume that I make a mistake and I change my mind. I can actually always just click remove from payslip button. Just as long as I do it before payroll is processed, and that last part is kind of key. So let's go back to the dashboard by clicking the expense to process breadcrumb. And today that breadcrumb is Wonder Bread. So where did Bob's expense go? Well, that's because the status changed to approved. So I'm going to click now to approved. And over here, there it is. So when I process this month's payroll, the expense will be repaid and the status will change now to paid. Okay. Now, I see there are two expenses for Tracy Jones, and it's for the business trip that we took to Furniture Fair. So I know these are correct expenses and amounts because I submitted the same exact expenses. We went on the trip together. So I'm going to click the checkbox next to both of these expenses, and then I'm going to click approve. All right, look at that. Their statuses have both changed. Nice and perfect. So she actually asked me to issue her a separate check for these rather than wait for her next paycheck. Her credit card bill will arrive before her paycheck, so I totally understand. I'm going to help you out, Tracy. So I'm going to select both expenses again, and this time I'm going to click post entries. So inside of our pop-up window right here, I can modify the accounting journal this will be posted to and the date if needed. In this case, the default purchases journal and today's date are both correct, so I'm going to click post expenses, and both expenses will be fully recorded in the accounting journal. Nice. Great. So I am actually taken to the detailed accounting record for these expenses. I can see both separate expenses in this invoices lines tab below. So there are two smart buttons over here at the top. If I want to see the individual expense records, I'll click expenses. So this lists all the expenses that are on that accounting move. That's pretty nice. So I'm going to go back to the journal via the breadcrumbs menu right there, selecting our bill. And next I'm going to click pay to process the payment. Now this is the important part. I'm going to click, in this case, change the journal to bank since we're paying from our checking account. She requested a paper check, so we also want to change that payment method over to checks. So the amount is pulled from the expense and the payment date defaults to today, which is correct. So the memo defaults to this basic memo, but I want to add something to it. So we're going to put furniture conference right there at the end. All right, everything now looks good. So I'm going to click create payment, and a green in payment banner appears right there and a new payment smart button appears at the top. I'm going to click that payments button and then I'm going to click print check. Now I'm going to enter the check number, which is fake YouTube. It's 123. Then we're going to click print and continue. And then I'm just going to save this file. But up last, I'm going to validate and mark this as fully paid. All right, now I just need to go hand her the paper check that's being printed right now. And boom. All right, heading back to the expenses process dashboard again. This time, I'm going to click on Carol MacArthur's expense. Okay, this is for the new training we are offering our employees, and this looks like a good class for her. So I'm going to click Approve and Post Journal Entries. So in this nice little pop-up, I'm going to click Post Expenses. Then I'm going to click Pay, but this time, and this is important, I'm going to pay her with direct deposit. So to do that, I'm going to change the journal to bank, and then manual payment technically is correct, and her bank account automatically populates this recipient bank account field from her employee profile. Easy for me. So I'm going to click Create Payment, and then we're going to click the Payment Smart button. Now I'm going to click Validate, and that's it. She's been paid. She's been made whole. But okay, let's head back to the main expense over here to process our nice little last one that I want to talk about. Okay, so let's check out this one right here. So Steve Thompson's general expense. The notes say this is for an office chair for his home office. Well, this isn't something that we would reimburse. That's a personal expense for his house. So I'm going to click refuse. I need to enter a reason why I'm refusing this. So I'm going to type, or in this case, paste it in. This is a personal expense and cannot be reimbursed by the company. So now we select refuse again, and would you look at that? The status has changed to refused. Now I feel bad. All right. Steve has sent an email explaining why this was refused, and we can see the email mentioned in the chatter. And that's all for today's tutorial. We learned how to review expense reports, remove individual expenses from a report, approve or refuse expenses, and post to our accounting journals and repay our employees. Stay tuned for the next tutorial. Until then, don't throw away those receipts.